Alrighty. Well, let's.
Do you have a Mirai?
Yeah.
That's a Toyota Mirai.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which means future.
Yeah.
In Japanese. And that's the botnet.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Okay. Well, let's start there. The Mirai Botnet.
The Mirai Botnet.
Yeah. What happened?
What happened was the single biggest attack on the basic infrastructure of the internet that we have ever seen.
Mm-hmm. And how can that happen? What was sort of what went wrong?
What was being targeted by the attack was the DNS system, and DNS is the phone book of the internet. That's what translates domain names to IP addresses. And when DNS doesn't work, the internet still works fine, but none of the sites will work because you don't know their IP addresses. If you knew, then you could just use them without anything going wrong. And DNS is one of the weak points of the internet, and that's why it's been built to be very, very fortified and very duplicated and backed up all over the planet. And regardless of all that work, the Mirai Botnet was able to take down one of the largest DNS providers on the planet.
And how did that happen?
Well, the surprising thing about this was that the massive botnet that was creating all this denial of service traffic was very large, but it wasn't a network of infected computers. It was a network of infected IoT devices. And this is the first time we are now actually seeing IoT botnets do massive damage like this.
So when you because we're used to thinking of hacking and botnets stemming from some dark basement or computers rack somewhere. Mm-hmm. But when you say IoT devices, what kind of devices participated in this network?
Smart televisions, security cameras, different kinds of routers, set-top boxes, DVR systems. So the kind of things people have around their houses. And many, in fact, majority of those people whose devices were part of this attack had no idea, and they still don't know it happened.
So what you're saying is actually that my smart television, might have been a part of this attack?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. We had actually Mirai infected devices all over the world, including devices right here from Denmark. Roughly 50% of the devices were security cameras. So if you have a security camera, the likelihood is fairly high that it was part of this attack. And security cameras are a very good tool for denial of service attackers because many security cameras today stream full HD images, which means they have quite a bit of processing power, so they can encode full HD stream, and they have enough bandwidth to be able to stream full HD. So if you take over a security camera, you can generate a lot of attack traffic. And that's what happened with the Mirai attack.
So if I put up a camera in my home, how would that fall victim to this sort of thing?
The Mirai attack was actually very, very simple. It was nothing fancy. It was simply scanning through the IPv4 address space, most of the internet, and whenever it would find, for example, a security camera, it would try logging in remotely with the Telnet protocol, one of the oldest protocols on the planet, using passwords like admin, password, user. So your security camera would fall victim if you just take it out of the box, connect it to your Wi-Fi and change nothing. Then it would probably fall victim to an attack like this.
And the implications of the attack, as I remember them, were, okay, so the internet is not working for a few hours, we're fine. But you seem more worried than that, or you sort of seem to word it as a greater problem than the internet. Like, okay, so Twitter's not working, so what?
It actually is a little bit bigger problem than that. Like when the attack was underway, my phone was ringing off the hook and people were asking what to do. Like, Twitter isn't working, what should I do? And my advice was, well, you go and have a walk. Like, you'll be back in 2 hours, it's going to work after 2 hours. And it did work after 2 hours. So that's a transient problem. But even the attack we saw was fairly serious for online stores. Like when you have a large shop where all the revenue is coming from your online store, if your site is down for a couple of hours, that means no revenue for a couple of hours, which could mean millions immediately. So these are important things. And of course, this was just one attack launched by one of these botnets. It nicely illustrates just how vulnerable the internet is. If somebody really would like to cause a lot of damage, this shows that it's possible. What really is saving us is that there's actually very few parties that are interested in crashing the whole internet.
And if one was to imagine a worse scenario, because okay, so this time it was the internet, Twitter and so forth for a few hours. What could one imagine being a worse outcome?
If somebody wants to crash the internet, clearly it's doable. However, who would really want to crash the internet? Like if you look at, let's say, criminals, the biggest amount of attacks we see online are coming from organized online crime groups. They don't want to crash the internet. They need the internet to make money. Why would they want to crash it? That's not a problem. Hacktivists, like Anonymous, they don't want to crash the internet. They love the internet. They live on the internet. That's the last thing they want to do. Nation states, most usable thing for nation states is to do espionage over the internet. They want to keep the internet running so they can steal information, which leaves us very few options really who wants to crash the internet. I guess the Mirai attack was most likely done by a bored teenager who just wanted to see how much damage he could do. And even they wouldn't be running it forever because they probably love the internet as well.
Can you, because to me it sounds insane that what you refer to as a bored teenager could have brought down the internet or parts of the internet. Can you sort of qualify how would a bored teenager get a hold of tools so powerful?
Well, we actually know where the code behind the attack came from. The code came from him. This is the online account of Anna Senpai. The name is female. We actually believe it's a man, some guy who's interested into Japanese culture and anime and manga. And he's the original author of the Mirai Botnet. He wrote the code and he actually used it in attacks that he was selling for other attackers. For example, to target online stores and then extract protection money to stop the attacks. He launched the largest attack before this DIN attack. And then when that became a fairly public thing, he released the source code of the attack network, most likely to hide his own tracks. The idea is that if officials are coming after you, you release the source code and then you have tons of copycat attacks. And then it's going to be really hard to prove who did what. And that worked beautifully. Right now there's like 25 different botnets, all based on the code written by Anna Senpai. None of it is probably run by him anymore. And one of those networks was behind the attack that caused the big outage.
Which means that I could just go and get the source code and let it loose with not a lot of technical computer skill.
The code for the attack is right now on GitHub. You can literally go and download it today and compile it and it would work.
So going back to, because I'm a good citizen, I don't want to buy a security camera or a set-top box or a television that sort of participates in these attacks. What can I do? Can I do anything as a good citizen to sort of make sure that all my toaster is not, being a bad toaster on the internet?
The most important thing consumers can do is to make sure that they have a strong password on the device. Like when you set up a new IoT device, change the password and change it to something strong and unique. You can even write it on a piece of paper because, that's a device in your house. And if it's written somewhere safe, nobody from the outside is ever going to be able to access it. And that alone would be enough to stop these particular attacks. But I don't really think that this Mirai botnet is the game changer. I don't think people really learn much from this. Because when I've been speaking to people about this, people whose devices have been part of the attack, the typical reaction is that, oh, my security camera was part of the attack? Cool. I mean, that's the typical reaction, which is not really what you want. You would want people to be worried about it, but they are not worried about it because the device still works. If there's smart TVs doing attacks, but you can still watch TV on it, they're not going to do anything about it. So this is not going to change anything. What will change people's perception about IoT security is when we will start more and more attacks where attackers gain access to internal networks through these devices. So IoT devices are in many cases not really a target for the hackers. They are a vector for the hackers through which they gain access either to your home network or in companies inside the company network. We computer security people, for years and years, we thought that our job is to secure computers. I'm a computer security guy. My job is to secure computers. Except today, when you look around, everything is being controlled by computers and software. The lights are on in this building because of computers and software. The water is coming out on the tap because of computers and software. All of our critical infrastructure, all of our factories is being run by computers and software, which really means that today our job is not to secure computers. Our job is really to secure the society. And I don't think we've really understood how much our job has changed during these years, but it really has.
Mm-hmm.